think we do need them. Yeah, I do. I think we need them. We need those strategies. Those strategies for living. So are you ready? You ready for your daily dose of radio rehab?
I am ready.
Are you?
Yeah, I am.
Prove it.
Prove it? I'm always ready.
Oh, yeah, I think you're right. Hey, folks, welcome. Welcome into 1017 FM, 710 Keel. Welcome into another edition of Strategies for Living. I'm Dr. David McMillan, and she is psychotherapist, PLPC, Lauren Leon McMillan. And, here on Strategies for Living, well, we talk every day about creating a life that makes you excited to wake up, start a new day. And, when you think about it, Lauren, what could be better, in this chaotic time than wanting to wake up and start a new day? Life does get chaotic these days.
It can do that, and especially in recent times, yeah?
Yeah, and maybe it's time that we accept some truths if we want less chaos in our life, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And, the deal is, we can't control out there, can we?
Not at all.
We can only control in here. Mm-hmm. But when we really get that, when we really understand, life doesn't have to be chaotic. Is complicated, right?
Can be, yes.
And if you want to simplify, well, there's some essential truths that I think that you have to embrace. You have to be willing to embrace. We talk a lot here on Strategies about a balanced life. I guess you could also call it a harmonious life, right?
Yes.
And KISS. Keep it simple, right?
Right.
I don't like the other S, but I do like the idea, the mantra, to keep it simple. And actually, the road to simplicity is where you focus on fewer things, but you do those things very well, and you squeeze the marrow out of life, if you will.
Yeah. It's about narrowing. It's interesting. As you narrow your focus, you truly broaden it.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
Bringing it in towards the things that you do have control over. Suddenly, you recognize how much control you really do have.
Yeah. So it turns out that the road to simplicity is where you're focusing on those fewer things, but you're doing them well, and you're simplifying your life. And there's some practical, not so drastic ways to create a more simplistic life. And we're going to talk about that today here on Strategies. If you want a less chaotic life, well, listen up. And who doesn't, right? Hey, we appreciate you being with us here on Strategies, and we appreciate our sponsors making it possible. The Robinson Film Center, and Azalea Cleaners, and Learning RX, and Pintail Roofing, and the Balanced Life Wellness Center. Back in a moment. Who doesn't want a less chaotic life? Well, we got to accept some truths. We're talking about them today here on Strategies. Stay with us. Hey, let's talk about the Robinson Film Center. I say it a lot. There's no place like the Robinson.
Absolutely, there is not.
617 Texas Street, downtown Shreveport. You've got so much. You got the movies. You got Abby Singer's Bistro on the second floor of RFC, open for lunch and dinner Tuesday through Saturday.
Newly remodeled.
Absolutely. Great menu. RobinsonFilmCenter.org is the way you check it all out. You can go to RobinsonFilmCenter.org at any time and find out what movies are showing. Here's the deal. You want to join the crowd, join the fun, become a member. When you become a member, you become a star. You get discounts on movies, you get concession upgrades, you get bistro deals. RFC, 617 Texas Street in downtown Shreveport. I'll say it again. There's no place like the Robinson.
There is not, and I'm glad we have one right here.
Absolutely. The RobinsonFilmCenter.org.
Reading begins not in the classroom, but in your child's brain. I'm Dawnisa Walker with Learning RX Shreveport. If your child struggles to read, Maybe he or she has trouble focusing or comprehending. LearningRx Shreveport offers a science solution to reading problems, working one-on-one with your child, targeting his or her reading skills. Today, call LearningRx Shreveport. Make an appointment to have your child assessed. I know you want to help your child. So does LearningRx Shreveport.
And welcome in. Welcome into 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Welcome into Strategies for Living. David McMillan here and Lauren Leon McMillan. Getting the lighting in the studio just right.
I'm very particular.
Now you've got it all shining. You've got it all shining on me.
Well, you moved it over there, friend.
See, people are seeing it live on the radio now as we're talking. Hey,
let the light shine.
Let the light shine. There you go. Oh, we're talking about a less chaotic life today, and that idea really resonates with a lot of us because life, life can be and can feel very complicated and chaotic these days.
I do want to mention, before we ran out last segment, you talked about who doesn't want a less chaotic life.
Yeah.
And I think most people will say that they do, but I think it's also important what I've witnessed over, some time and within myself and with others. If you grew up in a chaotic environment,
right,
and suddenly you are presented with peace or with calm, it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
And so often if you grew up within chaos, you seek it out because it's familiar.
Right.
And so I think that's one of the first truths you have to encounter within yourself if you truly are seeking out a less chaotic life, is to accept some form of responsibility, which is, not to say that you create it consciously.
Right.
But if you grew up within that environment, or you're used to that, or it's familiar, it becomes comforting.
Give me the devil I know. Right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And again, that kind of plays out at the unconscious level of mind. And, we might...
And I've seen that in relationships with people, too, right?
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
I mean, because we've crossed wires thinking that, if it's not chaotic, if it's not turbulent, then it's not exciting.
Right. Right. And so some people may be saying, and I understand it, they would be saying, listening to us and saying, okay, well, you're saying that plays out at the subconscious or the unconscious level of mind.
Yes.
How am I going to change that? Well, that plays into the first truth, which is decide. Decide to have a more simple life. Yep. Decide to have a simple life. Once you make that decision, once you make that choice, then...
And it's not a one and done deal.
No.
Especially if it's become a habitual or a familiar pattern for you.
Right.
It's a choice that you make over and over and over again, sometimes moment to moment.
Right. But once you do decide, I want a less chaotic life. I want a more simple life than I'm currently experiencing. If it begins, it's up to me. I have to start with me. So that goes back to asking the question, did I grow up watching? Did I grow up watching and being in a chaotic situation? Is that what I know? Could I be... just the question itself will begin to raise the level of subconscious or unconscious up to conscious mind awareness. And it is very true. So the question's a good one. How am I going to change something that I'm not conscious of? You tune into it.
Right. You become aware.
Now, there are some things that are deeper down in the unconscious mind that I may need some help with. But the vast majority of what we're talking about here, I mean, if you really tune in to, okay, well, what kind of household did I grow up in? It doesn't take long that you begin to focus on that, and the answer begins to emerge. Once it comes into our conscious mind, now I can change.
Right.
Now I've got access to it.
Yeah, now I have control and options.
And you know, that's a very, very powerful thing. But number one is to decide. Mm-hmm. It's really a commitment, if you will, Lauren, to a more simplicity in your life. And when you commit to simplicity, it does begin to bring some things into focus. Mm-hmm. The more that you can do that simplifies your life, mm-hmm. the more this identity becomes a part of who you are, and you'll find it easier to drop the unnecessary things. I mean, one of the things that all of us can likely do, you and I have in the last year or so attempted to begin this process. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying we've gotten there yet,
right?
But we've begun to get rid of stuff in our house that we don't use a lot. Right?
Yes.
And man, it feels good.
It feels a lot better.
Yeah. I mean, we did it because we wanted to set aside and create an office/studio space where we could record these programs and do this. And then you wanted a meditative, quiet space. Mm-hmm. And so we have, 2 rooms that we could convert and do that with. And in the process of doing that, we got rid of a lot of stuff.
Yes, we did.
Yeah. We had the proverbial spare bedroom,
right?
That was not really a spare bedroom. It was the grandkids would come occasionally, but it was the room that got we don't know where to put this. Okay, we'll put it in the spare bedroom.
It became storage.
And so again, the targeting and saying, okay, this is what I want to do. That's a powerful. The making a choice, making a decision, is a very powerful beginning to simplifying life.
And there's a spectrum, along which that you could fall. You could start like us and just simplify a room or a couple rooms. I have cousins who completely simplified to live in an RV for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And so they literally maybe had, a couple of each thing that they needed, and that was all.
They had to hone down
they
what
really,
do we really need
embraced minimalism, which is for some people and is not for others.
Right. But
just the idea, really honing in on the idea that we really don't need near the amount that we think we do, especially in this day and age.
And
right?
for how many of us does our stuff control us as opposed to us controlling our stuff?
But the idea to simplify may start on the physical level with stuff, right? But that also expands out into your emotional and your mental space.
Well, I'm glad you're mentioning that, because that's the second thing I want to talk about.
Okay.
And some people may object to what I'm about to say, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Okay.
Think less. So that's something that thinking makes life seem complicated. And we live a life, again, out there is out there, but we have an entire world in here,
right, within
ourselves. We have a thought life, a feeling life, an emotional life,
trillions of cells that we're in control of.
right. And it begins, the process it begins with our thinking.
And we have to be careful here. I don't think you're telling people you have to stop thinking or literally think less, because that's a difficult thing to do for us humans, right? Because the brain thinks much like the heart beats. Yeah.
Well, what I'm really saying is tune into your thoughts,
right,
and realize that, thoughts flow through, and most of us think at some level, most of us think we are what we think.
Right.
And a simple mindfulness exercise, and we talk about this a lot here on Strategies, but a very simple mindfulness exercise, just simply deciding that you're going to observe your thinking, say for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever you want to build to, is a very, very powerful way to realize that, wait a minute, I'm not these thoughts. I am an observer and a chooser of these thoughts. And in so many cases, we don't do that because we're not taught to do that.
No.
And so it's a very, very powerful realization when, it comes to us, oh, wait a minute, I'm in control. I mean, the thoughts flow through, so I'm not really in control of the thoughts, but I am in control of the thoughts that I choose to focus upon.
The ones that I hitch my train to.
Exactly.
And decide to take a ride on.
Exactly.
And it's amazing, once you're able to do that practice over time, you really truly do develop the ability to think less.
Yes. And it is, as you just labeled it, it is a practice.
It is. It's a daily practice.
It is something thinking, quote unquote, thinking less, means.
And it's amazing the things that begin to come in once you're able to get those, in what we might label intrusive or worrisome thoughts. When you're able to let those flow through, the world that opens up within and around you to the thoughts beyond that are amazing.
What thinking less really means is coming into the present, getting more present. And, when we get present, when we deal with what's right in front of us, everything simplifies.
Sure.
And so, just a simple question of when I'm chaotic in my mind, in my thinking process.
Come into the body.
Just saying and asking the question, am I okay right now? And I take a breath, and I'm okay. I'm warm, I'm dry, or I'm cool, depending on the season. I ate this morning. I'm going to eat again in a little while. I'm okay.
Right.
Yeah. And that really, when we come into the present, we begin to realize, wait a minute, all of this complication, all of this chaos.
Self-made.
It's the thinking. We're talking about how. We're talking about how to live a less chaotic life. And if we want to do that, there's some things that we have to accept. We're talking about those today here on Strategies for Living. And we'll be right back. Stay with us.
Hi, this is Jay Merle for Pintail Roofing. Let's talk about quality. When you hire Pintail to build your roof, here's what you can expect. Quality and quality control are the most important concerns for us at Pintail, and you need to know that Pintail stands tall with swift and professional performance on any warranty call. This is our most important policy. And remember, we're your neighbors. We'll be here for you for the long haul. Our family's lived here for over 100 years, and we aren't going anywhere. On the commercial side of Pintail's business, our fluid-applied roofing solutions can save thousands of dollars over conventional commercial roofing options. Call Pintail at 226-ROOF for a free inspection of your home or commercial building. That's 226-7663. Pintail Roofing. What's the condition of your roof?
How do you do it? How do you do it in these times? How do you live a less chaotic life? Welcome back, folks. Welcome back into 101.7 FM, 710 Keel, and welcome back into Strategies for Living. If you do want a less chaotic life, there are some truths. There are some essential truths.
Some simple strategies.
And some strategies, exactly, that you have to be willing to accept. Number one, and we talked about this, you got to choose. You got to decide that that's what you want, because you get to decide.
You do. You absolutely do every moment.
And then we were just before break talking about thinking.
Mm-hmm.
When I say think less, I know some people are saying, what?
Can't do that.
Again, it's the practice. It's the honing in and understanding that we are not our thoughts. Mm. Our thoughts flow through us, and they're going to happen no matter what. What we are truly is we are observers and we are choosers of our thoughts.
Right.
And we get to do that. That's our privilege as human beings.
That's our creative power.
That's our power, but we have to accept that, and we have to learn that we're not our thoughts. We are the observers and choosers of those thoughts, which means, and I know we talk a lot about what we label mindfulness, but the simple mindfulness practice of just stepping back, and even for 2 minutes, just observing your thoughts, you realize, wait a minute, I'm not those thoughts. And those thoughts sometimes are very, very chaotic. And so I'm gonna experience chaos when I let my thoughts control me as opposed to me observing. And there are some thoughts that you just need to let scroll by.
Right. It's, to me, it kind of reminds me of being in the movie theater, right? Sometimes it can be such an immersive experience.
Sure.
It's physiologically you get caught up, and you truly
That's what
do.
they want.
Right, right. And so one of my practices personally in a movie theater is actually to locate the exit signs, because they're usually right up front by the screen.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so at any point during the movie, if
it gets too much, you just zoom to the
zoom on the exit sign and remind myself
that I'm in a movie.
Right, I'm watching it. And that's the same idea. It's the same concept for mindfulness. Is anytime that your thoughts, your head gets so chaotic with these words, these thoughts, these stories, these beliefs, it's being able to have your own proverbial exit sign.
Yeah.
Being able to shift out and recognize that these thoughts are coming across my mind on a screen, perhaps. Being able to zoom out.
That's a very, very good metaphor.
Yeah.
Some people would argue we're always in a movie anyway.
Right.
Our life. Some people would argue
life is a movie.
This life is a dream/movie that we're writing, producing, starring in, directing all of the
roles
parts,
are us.
all of the roles. So I think it's using the movies as a metaphor for our life is a very, very good way to begin to have more control, experience more control, and therefore less chaos if that's what we're choosing, if that's what we want.
Right, because that's kind of the beauty in life, is our ability to do that, to lean forward into the experience, to really fully embody some moments, while simultaneously being able to have that leaning back experience, the experience of knowing, okay, I'm grounded in something much greater, and this experience is just something I'm having or I'm witnessing. The leaning back and being able to witness, and the moving in and out, perhaps is a good metaphor for why we've been given breath itself.
Absolutely.
The in and the out.
Yep. All right. So one of the truths that we have to focus on if we want less chaos is habits.
Absolutely.
So habits are things that we do every day. And those habits combine really to create extremely remarkable results if you think about it. They build upon themselves
and become who we are.
And so one of the truths that you have to embrace is you have to realize, okay, my life is made up every day of combining a lot of habits. So, there's research that says, this research was from the American Psychological Association, and it says that 43% And that's a big percentage.
Yeah.
43% of everyday actions are enacted habitually.
Yeah, I believe
it. People are thinking about something else, but they're just doing.
Mm-hmm.
So 43%. We're almost talking about half of your life.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's so easy. It's so easy in the mundane things to lose that conscious awareness of them, right?
Right.
But in my own experience, it has been so magical to bring those mundane moments back to life.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it was Eckhart Tolle, right, who suggested something along the lines of when you're washing the dishes, wash the dishes.
Yeah.
When you're doing laundry, do the laundry.
Really be present to the
with
dishes
each.
or the laundry.
Yeah.
And, focus upon
And
them.
I'm not always great at that, but when I
Right,
catch
right.
myself out, it's been amazing for me, that how time slows and how magical it can become when you bring yourself into the moment. And, if I'm doing the dishes, I practice gratitude for the dishes, right? And
Right.
say a prayer over, the next meal that may grace their presence, and the same with the laundry. As I'm folding, I thankful for having the clothes that I can have, and,
and thankful for having the washing machine and dryer.
Oh my gosh!
And
what I recently?
we can keep them clean.
This reminds me of something interesting, and it falls along this. Recently, the washing machine got unbalanced or something, and so I had to go out there and mess with it.
Right.
And I wanted to watch it to make sure that it didn't get unbalanced again. Right.
Right. That it stayed balanced.
And so I was sitting there actually present with the washing machine while it was doing its thing. I know this is so goofy, but I just sat back and I was amazed. And I think you remember because I came in and I said, do you know how miraculous, how amazing that machine is for what it does?
Yeah.
And how cool it is that we have this capability that in 30 minutes, I don't have to spend all day down at the river,
and
scrubbing away.
We almost take that for granted,
Exactly.
Lauren, because, again, in our modern life, we tell ourselves, well, we couldn't live without. But, my lifetime, I'll be 68 years old in November.
Right.
When I was a little guy, in my house, they called the refrigerator the ice box.
Okay.
And the reason they called it the ice box is because in my parents' lifetime, the ice got delivered.
Right.
And there wasn't the mechanical, I guess in my grandparents' home or great-grandparents' home, the ice got delivered, put into the box to keep the food cool, right?
Right.
And the Iceman delivered every day. As a little guy, I still remember, I grew up in old downtown Bossier City. I remember as a little fella loving to go down to the ice, in old downtown Bossier. There you could go down and they'd pull a lever and there would be this massive block of ice that would come out,
Yeah.
Now, I wasn't too old and there wasn't any need anymore for the ice house, right?
Yeah.
The Bossier Ice House. But I still remember, because it was just the coolest thing to see that huge block of ice come out, right? And, but my point is that in my household, we called the refrigerator the ice box. And it wasn't an ice box. It was truly a refrigerator.
Right.
I mean, we had a freezer and we had a refrigerator that was modern. But my parents referred to, well, go get something out of the such and such out of the ice box.
Right.
Because that's what their parents, I guess, had called it.
Yeah.
And you begin to see then how this builds, right?
And how it drastically shifts society, because I'm thinking, even with the icebox example, there was somebody who came to your door every day with ice. And
and another person with milk.
Right. And I'm thinking also with laundry, it used to be a very social connector, where women would go and maybe men would go down to, the water and talk, right? And connect.
Right.
And so it's interesting how things have evolved, and we've, lost some things but gained others, how it shifts over time.
Another thing is to want less. I mean, to nurture a healthy desire for less. The saying, less is more. Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Epictetus.
Yeah, I love that. And another saying, I don't know that this is an actual saying, but another idea that really kind of shifted my own perspective is the idea that wanting something in and of itself is a negative experience.
Right.
Even if you're wanting a positive experience, that in itself is a negative experience because you're suggesting to yourself that you're lacking in some way.
And so much of our our marketing, our commercials are designed
to tap into belief of lack and scarcity,
and attempt to seed, if you will, the want in us.
Right.
I think it's important for us to, I'm my bachelor's degree is in marketing. I'm certainly not putting marketing down, advertising. I've had a career.
But it is what it is.
But it is what it is. I think we have to see and understand
for how
that
it works.
This is the way, this is what's going on. And so if you understand it, it doesn't control you. You can begin to have more control over your life.
My first psychology teacher, we were talking about subliminal messaging.
Right.
And she would get so mad because she was talking about how she would see a giant, hamburger McDonald's billboard on the side of the road, and it would say, "Are you hungry?" And she would be like, "I am not hungry." She'd get so upset.
You can't tell me what.
You can't tell me.
We're talking about if you want to have a less chaotic life, what are the truths? What are the simple truths? They're rather simple truths, but if you want less chaos, then you got to accept some very simple truths, and we're talking about them today here on Strategies for Living. No pun intended. Want more? Stay with us because we've got more right here on Strategies. Stay right where you are. Dealing with stress, pain, feel like you're running out of options? When your life is balanced, wellness is a given. True wellness is holistic. It's about the mind, the body, and the spirit, all in balance. Now, there's a place right here in Shreveport that's all about helping us achieve peak mental, emotional, and physical health. The Balanced Life, 117 Kings Highway, right next door to Strawn's. Come see and feel the difference getting your life in balance can be. Many of your friends and neighbors have already learned the difference less stress and pain mean in their lives. You can book a discovery session right now online, thebalancedlife.us. All you've got to lose is stress, pain, or maybe both. Come see and feel for yourself the real difference balanced wellness makes. The Balanced Life Wellness Center, 117 Kings Highway in Shreveport, next door to Strawn's. Thebalancedlife.us. And welcome back. Welcome back into Strategies for Living here on 101.7 FM. 710 Keel and Lauren Leon McMillan, David McMillan. You want a less chaotic life? Well, there's some truths that have to be accepted. Deciding to have a more simple life, thinking less, developing small habits, wanting less. And this next one kind of relates to the habit thing, right? Mm-hmm. So fall in love with your habits. Prioritize the habits that you decide are worth focusing on, and then realize that you have a choice about whether you struggle through those things or let go and just enjoy the task. That's what I think you were kind of getting to with the dishes and the laundry a second ago.
Yeah.
You know, okay, the dishes have to be done.
I mean,
The laundry has to be done.
They don't have to be done. Nothing has to be done.
No,
That's
no.
one of the first pieces there, is recognizing that, okay, this is something that I want, for my life. I would like to have
clean clothes. I want clean dishes.
Right,
yeah. And since I want them,
that's a piece of it.
and then I can be present to that as I do those things, as I go about those things, and that makes life more meaningful as we move through it.
And I think it makes the chore go by not necessarily quicker, but better. I mean, I feel like we may perceive it to be to time to be speeding up, if you will. Sure, and I think the natives, the indigenous people, were onto something when they recognized the consciousness in everything. Because as I am thinking and being appreciative and attentive to the things, that I'm using, the water and the clothes and the dishes or whatever else, I feel like it makes the chore easier and more receptive.
Yeah, I think you're exactly
that
right.
Makes any sense?
Yeah. This next one is zooming.
Zooming?
Zooming. Yeah. Have you? Sometimes if you're, let me use the example of Google Map. Okay. Mm-hmm. You've got something and you're looking at something on Google Map, and you want a broader perspective.
Yeah.
What do? You zoom out.
Okay.
Right.
We're talking.
And you begin to get an idea and a sense of, okay, I know where that is.
We're talking
right?
about perspective, not pace.
Yeah, and so I think that's zooming out is an incredibly
so
important thing, and you're basically to zoom out. How do you do that? Some people may ask. Well, why? Asking why. Mm-hmm. When we get overwhelmed, what happens is we're in the weeds. We're lost in the details, and so if with regularity we can zoom out and really look at our why, then it's just like zooming out on a map. Okay, I see where I am. Everything becomes clear.
Right.
That makes sense?
Yes.
I can see where I am, and now I'm no longer down in the weeds. Mm-hmm. I can see the bigger truth. I mean, I think that there's a lot of people right now. We talked a bit before the debate the other night of I think a lot of people, both sides of the spectrum, are really immersed in the weeds right now.
Oh yeah, big time.
And it's very fearful. You can get very, very concerned. Things feel very complicated because none of us can control. I mean, election day is still 50 plus days away,
right?
And it's not going to get here until it gets here, mm-hmm. And so we get all revved up about what if so and so wins? What if such and such wins? Mm-hmm. Okay, well, and we tell ourselves very, very scary stories.
Right, and again, that's about the balance of zooming in and zooming out, right? Being able to zoom in and know that no matter what or who is up there, out there, I've got me, and I've got my habits, and I've got the peace within me that I can always rely upon and root into.
Another truth is that we always have our focus, and our focus, it's hard to really focus on more than one thing, and that's the truth. The truth is, focus on one thing. When you're faced with a decision, ask yourself, what's the one thing that I can do such that by doing that thing, everything else kind of falls into place, becomes either unnecessary or easier. And then practice doing that one thing. Practice doing that one thing at a time. And that's, what is life? We create the weeds in our minds, but if we if we can step back and say, okay, well, what's the one thing that's important for me to do now that could make this better?
What's the next right thing?
What's the next right thing? Then suddenly life becomes less chaotic and complicated because I just can, if I ask myself that, I can do that thing.
Right.
I can concentrate on that
next
thing.
One thing, yeah.
And that's the thing that, is more likely to get me results. And that's the reason I ask the why, right?
Yeah.
Patience, developing patience. Most people are in a blind rush
to
get stuff done, to make things happen.
Do you know where you're going?
Yeah, misery.
No, you know where you're rushing off to?
Yeah.
Nowhere.
Yeah.
Now here.
Now here.
That's the only place you're ever rushing off to.
But when we get there, we make ourselves miserable and we don't even realize it,
Yeah.
So move with a sense of maybe add playfulness.
Yes.
You can, maybe you can build patience by adding playfulness, right? Mm-hmm. And maybe being willing to chuckle at yourself. Oh, I'm doing it again,
Yeah. I'm running out of the present again, right?
Let me step back and let me get this back into a perspective.
I have done, I have come to a practice of anytime I catch myself rushing into something or rushing to get something done, as soon as I'm aware of it, I pause.
Yeah.
And I almost intentionally go the opposite direction. Slow down as much as I can, because there's no, where am I rushing off to?
Remember the story we learned in kindergarten or first grade, the tortoise won the race.
Right. Yeah, because he enjoyed the experience along the way.
Another truth is about being right. Stop always trying to be right.
There is no such thing.
When we need to prove ourselves, we suddenly welcome drama and arguments and worry and rumination. And we lose time. There was one study, researchers examined how people's beliefs affect their tendency to be cooperative or competitive. And correctness focuses on whether we think our belief is quote unquote correct. Everybody's got an opinion. So
that's the beauty of it.
Stop. I mean, stop always trying to be right. They found that the more strongly people believe their attitude is correct, the more competitive that they'll be in their discussions. So if we take a step back, we might lose a bit of that competitiveness, if you will. So talking about how to have a less chaotic life today here on Strategies for Living, talking about some truths to help us get there. And we'll be back. More strategies to come. Stay with us. You're going to see the difference. When you go to Azalea Cleaners, you'll hear about it too. Azalea Cleaners has been fine dry cleaning since 1958, plus laundry, alterations and repairs, comforters, wedding gown cleaning and restoration. You'll hear about it from your friends because they'll see it too. They'll notice the Azalea difference. Azalea is convenient. 732 Azalea Drive, 9220 Ellerby Road, and 9227 Mansfield Road. Plus, the front door of your home or business with Azalea's delivery on demand. Just text SETUP to 249-8283, and Azalea will pick up your clothes and deliver them back clean and fresh to you. You can't get closer than that. That's the Azalea difference. You'll notice it right away. Others will too. The Azalea difference. Fine dry cleaning since 1958. Text SETUP to 249-8283 and get the Azalea difference. AzaleaCleaners.com. And welcome back. Welcome back into 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. A less chaotic life, huh? Is that even possible?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you choose for it to be.
Yeah. Yeah, one last one real quick.
Okay.
The myth of doing hard things.
Oh.
Drop that myth. You know, a lot of what we have to do is just enjoy the ride.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's all a ride.
It is.
So, you know.
It's about learning to go with the flow.
Yeah.
Learning to row with it.
Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream, right?
Yes, sir. That's right.
So what are you taking away from having learning to have a less chaotic life and these truths, this handful of truths that we've talked about today, Lauren?
I think one of the predominant themes running throughout all of these strategies is that of presence, right?
Yeah.
It's of
presence and mindfulness, tuning in.
Recognizing that it's not chaotic. It doesn't have to be. There's a secret order and a secret slowness and deliciousness if you slow into it.
If you want it, it's, again, you've got a world. We all have a world. Teacher a couple of thousand years ago said over and over, the kingdom is within you.
Right.
The kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of God is within you.
You have the keys.
You can't do anything about out there,
Nope.
but you've got an entire world inside, and that's the key.
That's it.
Those are the
Those
keys.
are the
That's
keys.
the keys to the kingdom,
Right.
if you will.
Yes.
But you have to recognize it.
That you're holding them.
You have to see it, and then you have to be willing to take the keys and use
practice
them.
moment to moment.
Exactly. Hope this helps. Thank you.
Thank you.
And folks, thank you. We appreciate you being with us here on Strategies for Living. And as always, we appreciate our sponsors making it possible. The Robinson Film Center and Azalea Cleaners and Learning RX and Pintail Roofing and the Balanced Life Wellness Center. If today were the last day of your life, you only had one more phone call that you could make, who would you call? What would you say? And why are you waiting? Make the call. For Lauren Leon McMillan, I'm David McMillan. See you next time, right here on Strategies for Living.